Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Monday Motivation Spotlight. Welcome back after the Pesach break. And as we were saying behind the scenes, some of you have gone back into normal. Some of us, it takes a little bit longer to get back to normal. Whatever it is, I'm delighted that you're with us here, whether you're joining live or whether you're watching the recording. I'm Lesley Kaplan, bringing this to you every single Monday with a different guest each time. With thanks also, I'll mention a little bit later too, but with thanks to our special friend, Barbara Safa, who introduced me to really our guest today. Barbara, many of you will know if you saw her live, she was a previous guest on our Monday Motivation Spotlight. So it was really nice of her to connect us with really who has a special story. And of course, with thanks every week to our sponsors, to Nardis Advisors and to Eggett and Cohen Insurance. So today, our special guest is Dr. Alon. Some of you may know her. She's the Deputy Director of Nursing and Health at Hadassah, and she actually goes around to the different hospitals, a busy woman. She grew up with a very interesting childhood, having not one, but two Holocaust survivor parents, as well as grandparents. Her maternal grandmother was murdered in the death camp, sadly, but her paternal grandmother, whose husband was murdered in the death camp, actually raised her and taught her. You'll hear she talks about how she taught her to basically walk upright and to be proud of who she was as a woman and as a Jew. And she'll also share with us her interesting story about how her mother actually met her sister by staying a proud Jew, and you'll hear a little bit about later. So because really is such a busy person, she requested if we could do a recording. So she's not joining us live today. We've got a recorded version which fits the time zone that we're in today and fits the length. And any questions or comments, feel free to write in the chat, and I will make sure that she gets these questions. She didn't want that at the last minute that she'd have to cancel us because of the fact of her busy profession. So sit back, enjoy. It's super inspiring. And we're going to now listen to Reli's story. Okay, take it away. Thank you, Reli.
Thank you for having me. I'm Reli, as you said, and I was born in Rishon LeZion in Israel, of course. And my two parents were Holocaust survivors, and my grandmother too. Actually, I was growing up most of the time when I was very young by my grandmother, and she has a number of her hand. My mother's parents were from Poland, and my father's parents were from Romania. Actually, I grew up in a very happy house. My mother was a kindergarten teacher. My father works in the army, and my childhood were as a normal kid almost. I will tell you some stories, but they find out that my parents wasn't born in Israel. My two parents didn't speak about the Holocaust. We didn't ask them. We are three daughters. I am the oldest one, and we didn't ask them anything about the Holocaust. We know that. We know because my grandmother has a number on her hand, but we didn't ask them anything, and they didn't tell. So it was really something that wasn't spoken in the house. When my daughter was 12 years old, she has from a school, she has to write down the legacy or what's going on with the family, all the 10 years ago or 20 years ago, what's with the family, with the grandfathers or the grandmothers, how is the family, And she went to my parents' house. She loves them very much. She was really connected to them. I have three children. She's the oldest one. And the work calls shorashim, roots. So she has to write down the roots work. I'm excited. I didn't know it would be. She went to my mother's. She was sitting with my mother and father, and she started asking questions. Tell me what's happened at the Holocaust. Where you born? Who raised you? And my mother and my father were sitting with her, and for the first time, we know the story of my father and mother, and then we went to my grandmother. And she was, I will start with my mother. My mother will always said, I don't know the exact day when I was born. When I was 2 years old or 2.5 years old, I don't know, because I don't know really the exact year even when I born, because my father was really exhausted after the war. When the war started in Poland, at Warsaw, they took my grandfather took his two daughters to an orphanage place with Muslims that they weren't recognized as Jews, and they sent them, and they left them there, and he joined the partisans there, and he left the two daughters separated from one each other. And to my mothers, they said, you can't say anymore that your name is Hannah Blumlich. You should say your name is Eva Petrushka. And she said, as a small baby, I'm not Eva Petrushka, I'm Hannah Blumlich. So she was raised by nuns in a Muslim place, and she was there for, she doesn't know really the exact days, but she was moving because of the war, and the places were bombed. She was moving with the nuns from one place, one shelter to another shelter, and she always said that she remembered that she said, I'm Hannah Blumlich, I'm not Eva Petrushka. And one day the parents after the war came to take the Muslim kids, some of them for adopted from the place, from the orphanage place. And one of the kids said on my mother, she's also Jewish, took her. And they were speaking with the Sochnut, because the Sochnut was looking for Jewish children who survived. And she was moved to another place, and at the end she found herself in the train of Herzog. There was a Herzog train for all the kids that were survived from the war, and she was very ill. She was 4 years old, 4.5. She was very ill. She has typhus. She was almost were. She said she doesn't know how much she weighed, but she was almost 10 kilos, something like that. And she was very, very sick with high fever, she cannot walk even. And the old girls from the other in the train were taking care of the small children there. And one day, and she has a sister, as I said before, that she never met. She never met during the war, because she doesn't know. She was a small kid. She was separated from the father, separated. Her mother would get killed in the war. The bomb killed her, the mother. And the father were the partisans, so no connection. She was very small. And she remembered that she has a sister, but she doesn't know anything about her. And she went to one of the girls that took care of the small children said to her, there is a small girl there. She was something 4.5 years old. And she said, she's Hannah Blumlich. She's not Eva Petrushka. She always said, I'm Hannah Blumlich, and you are Blumlich too. Go see her. Maybe you have any connections with the family. And the old sister said, I didn't see her. I don't know. I remember I have a sister. I don't know. Okay, she was 6 years old, her oldest sister, and she went to the last cabin with a friend of her, and she came and said, this is the one who said she's Hannah Blumlich. And my mother was in the bed, very, very, very sick, and her sister take the dress that she wear and put it up, because my mother has a spot on her belly, and from the day she was born. And her sister remembered that, and she said, this is my mother, this is my sister. And since then they were never separated until the end day of my mother. They were very, very connected, and they started telling the story how the old sister recognized the small sister by by the spot on the belly. They were really unconnected until they were both 83, 84 years old, growing families in Israel. And my sister, the sister of my mother, is still alive. My mother died 3 years ago. And they were they both went to Israel with the Aliyat HaNoar, with the kids that came to Israel, and they put them in a place that the children, the orphan children, were there. They slept there, pnimiya. I don't remember the name, pnimiya. And they were there, they slept there, they were there. And after the war, the father who survived came to look for the older sister, because he was sure that my mother didn't survive the war, and that she was very, very small. And they found both of them. They were they get from the Sochnut the apartment. They were there. Both of them were studying to be a kindergarten teacher. Both of them were kindergarten teachers. Both of them met here in Israel, Holocaust survivor too. The husband of my sister of my mother also married a Holocaust survivor too, and my mother too. And they raised a beautiful family that we are three sisters, as I said. And my father and my mother, she always speak about the story, how she found her sister and her sister found her. She was telling a lot of it, not to forget what's happened in the Holocaust. And she went to the scouts, she went to the army, she went to a lot of places to tell the story. She never ever want to go to Poland. She said the Poland were the horriblest people that make horrible things to Jews. She never go back to Poland. And she was telling a story whenever she can, in the army, in the scouts, in the schools. My kids were very proud of her, and she tell the story. I didn't want her to tell the story. I didn't ask, but my kids asked her, and she was telling the story whenever she was. They called her to tell the story. My father also, he was growing with his mother because his father was murdered in the Auschwitz, in the camp, in the working camp. His mother she was doing the coats, and she works in the camp, and my father, as he told my daughter, he lived out of the camp in a pig sty, in a pig place, and he ate the food as the pigs ate. They ate what the pigs ate, he ate. And he came to Israel. He was very, very, also very small. He was alone. His mother grew him as an only child. He has a sister that at the very beginning of the war, she was getting killed, and also his father, as I said. And they were in Chernovitz. They were in Chernovitz at the camp, and then they sent him to another camp. He and his mother. And when he came to Israel, he was working in the kibbutz, and then he joined the army, and he was working in the army for the rest of his life, as in a different position in the army. He didn't like to talk about the time at the Holocaust, not like my mother, that she was talking all over, but he was very intervened. He didn't talk about himself as a person. So he didn't talk about himself in the Holocaust. He talked about it with my daughter a little bit, but he said, I don't want to speak about it. It was very hard time for me. Your mother speaks for me too. And his mother, who has a number on his hand, raised me a lot. I forget something to say about my mother. Sorry for that. My mother said, I don't know the day I born. I don't have any documents to say when I born, and I don't have any documents to say where is the exact place. I don't know anything. My father doesn't remember. So we were celebrating her birthday during the holidays in Rosh Hashanah, and she said something around Rosh Hashanah. My father remember, but she doesn't have any documents at all about her birth or anything. That goes with her many years. She was talking about it a lot. And the thing is that I go back, sorry, to my father. When I was young, my father was, for example, I went to the Scouts, and all the Israeli kids go with the mochila on their bag. There was a small bag on their bag, and my father gave me a suitcase from the Holocaust. What he bring from the Holocaust, a brown small one. I have it until today. And I went like that to the Scouts for a day out to go out, and all the kids were laughing at me. And I said, "Why? This is my father's suitcase. It means a lot to him." But they were laughing. Most of them were Israelis, and they have on their back a bag on the back, and they were really different. I came home and said, "I don't want to go to the Scouts because they're laughing at me because of the suitcase." And my parents went and buy me a bag, and my father said, "This is with me from the Holocaust, and you will keep it until always, and will remind you the day when I was in the Holocaust." And I have it until today, the brown suitcase, the small one. It's a reminder about that. The other thing I want to tell you about my father and mother, in a very, not a strange way, I married a guy, my husband, 40 years, that is also a Holocaust survivor, a son of a Holocaust survivor. His father was also with a number on his hand. He was in Bergen-Belsen, his father, and all the family get murdered in the Holocaust. My husband's family also. So the Holocaust is really in the family. We're talking about it. My mother and my grandfather were two very strong women. And my grandmother always said, "You should," in Yiddish. I speak Yiddish. I learned from my grandmother Yiddish. And my parents were talking, I took this language and I have it until today, and it helped me a lot. And not only with the patient in the hospital, but all the religious people that speak Yiddish in the hospital, but also in Germany. I understand Germany. And the thing is that she was also, my grandmother said, "You should stay stolz. You should stay like, go and put yourself like that and be really a strong woman, because we need to be strong." And that helped my grandmother, I think, as she was working in work camp during the war. And my grandmother was really very special for me. She raised me. She was she died in my hand. I was in the honeymoon, and when my parents called me that she's very ill, she has cancer. I left the honeymoon with my husband, and we were staying with her in her bed. She has a number on her hand, as I said, and we was with her until the day that she died. She was very important for me. She was a strong woman. She didn't learn Hebrew until the day she died. She was speaking only Yiddish. And as I see my parents, and as I see they grow me to believe in myself, and to be very proud that we are Jews and we are and today to be a survival. Not only many survivors are still alive. And my parents always said, "We won't forget and we won't forgive." And after the 7th of October, I'm telling to my nurses, I'm telling to my family, I won't forgive and I won't forget. There's things as a Jew in Israel, as a Jew all over the world, you should do, because we must be strong and together, that the Holocaust won't happen again. What's happened at the 7th of October was this Holocaust. There is no other way to recognize it or to know that. It was Holocaust at the 7th of October. And my parents, thank God they're not alive at the 7th of October. I'm really saying that because the Holocaust time prove us again and again, we should be together. We should not fight between one of each other. And my parents, as both of them, grew a family in Israel. My sister's mother, she's not a very good, a good condition, but also she always tells the story how she met her sister, how miracle happens during the war, and there is miracle during the war. And miracles happen even today, but it needs for us to be strong and connected, and to believe that Israel should stay forever, and to believe that the Jews all over should be not only supporting Israel, but also recognize that we need their support from abroad all over the staying. When I don't know where they're staying. And that's what I'm telling my kids. I have 3 kids, two of them living in Israel, one of them, she lives in Sydney, in Australia. I have 5 grandchildren. And the thing is that the Holocaust is really in our family. I think stay forever. My kids know all the stories. That my 2 sons take this work's roots and read that and know all the stories about what's happened to my family. And I think we should tell the story and again from what we can remember, and to tell the story and to learn from the story, and what we should do for the next next generations. That we should learn what not to do. We should learn how we not or close our eyes and okay, the Jews and we will be fine. And also when I'm going to I went to Dachau. I went to some of the camps to see what's happened there. They also, it's also bringing the money that the people are going to Dachau or the other places in Europe. But it's really, we shouldn't forget. We should tell the story again and again, that people will know, people remember, and that's the Judaism. That's Israel. Israel is because of them. Israel is because we came here to be a part of Israel. And I will tell you another story about myself. When I was the second year on university, my parents, one of the friends of my parents said to me, really, maybe you're going to be a shaliach of the Sochnut to bring Jews to Israel. And I said to him, no, I can't do that. I'm living in Israel. I'm a student now. I can't do that. He said, it's not an excuse. You can't say that. Your parents were survivors. You should do something for the Judaism, something for the Jews that they come to Israel. I left everything. I left the university. I left my boyfriend here. And I went to 1 year as a shaliach of Sochnut in Canada. And I lived there for almost a year. I was there for 10 months. And I bring a lot of Jews to Israel. At that time, it was on many years ago. And then I came back, I graduated university, I finished nursing school. And that's the main of the thing, that I believe that you should walk the talk. You not only need to talk, you should do something. You should talk about the Holocaust. You should be, if you believe to do something, you should do that. And I believe in that things in the heart will always stay. And my children know all the story. And we wrote on my mother's grave, she was strong than the wind. She was really a strong woman. And we learn a lot from strong women, and to do and what not to do. Hadassah organization, actually, it's the Hadassah hospitals that belong to women, the organization of Hadassah Women's. And the Hadassah Women's are really, they not only create the idea that women should come from all over the states. There are thousands of women that supporting not only Israel, the hospitals, or youth places. They believe in that they should Israel be strong, with strong hospital, with strong health. And I'm proud to be a part of Hadassah Women's that believe that the hospitals will be, and the hospital, as I said, belong to them, and believe that the Zionists and the organization and the support. I just came back from the States, and there are so many Hadassah women supporting what we are doing in Israel, and supporting that we be strong in Israel, and the hospitals will be strong, and the youth camp in Israel would be strong, and they still believe in the Jewish, the Zionist dreams. It's not only a dream, the dream should come true. And they also believed and they support us a lot. And I'm very proud to be a part of the organization of Hadassah and a Jewish Zionist of the women of Hadassah. Yes. Absolutely.
Really a couple of things I wanted to just ask you. Firstly, also your mother being so proud, even as a child, the fact that she insisted on keeping her name, and that's how she got to her sister and got to meet her sister. So she had this inner strength in her, even as a child, that she wasn't prepared to give up her Jewish name.
Yes, yes, it's really unique because she was a child and everybody said, don't say that you're a Jew, say that your name is Anna Patrushka, Eva Patrushka, so you have to be another name. And she was insisting on that. I don't know which, at the age of 2.5, someone is insist of her name, is everybody saying, but there was a lot of people, children there in the same situation. I don't know, but I never heard that his sister found her after 2 years, also a child in the war, also a child without father and mother. And my mother really, as she said, I never grew up with father and mother. At the beginning, she said, I didn't know how to be a mother because I never raised by the mother. She was very small when they took her out from the house, her father, and she was raising by nuns with in one place to another place. She didn't know how to grow up children. She said, I don't know to be a good mother, if a good mother. And she was there from one to each other. But she said to my father, I don't know. I never grew up with a mother. I don't know any mother. I never say mother. Okay. When she said, when I say mother, the first time I said mommy or Hannah, and I was Hannah Meller or Hannah Blumlich when she was not married. And she was crying because she said, I never said Ima to anyone. And it looks for us normal. My kids call me Ima. I have a granddaughter who call me Savta. It really looks normal for us. But my mother said, I never say Ima in my life. I don't know what's Ima. And I don't know where she's, when they buried, where they buried. I don't have a grave to go to cry. So it's really, for us, it's obvious that, okay, we say mother, we say grandmother, but for her, she said, I never say Ima to anyone. As kids, I remember, and I can say that she looks different from the Israelis, okay? She was, that's what we feel as children. And she spoke Yiddish. Most of the houses didn't speak, when my friends, Yiddish. And as we opened the door to her to speak, she was speaking about how she get raised in a different places, how she didn't have a mother, she didn't have a father all those years. So these things are really open for her. And my sister's kids also, they also have the Shorashim work. Also, she was speaking with them. Also, she went to the Scouts, she went to the army, she went to high school to speak about it. And she was really like waiting for the Shorashim to open for that. And as we get older, we understood that she must speak about it. But when we were young and a little bit stupid, we didn't have it to speak because she was different from our other friends' parents. Because we were learning about the Holocaust in the school from the very early beginnings. But to see her in this position for us as kids were really heavy. Okay, we didn't, as I told the story about the suitcase, I didn't want to be a stranger. I grew up to be Israeli. I was even a counselor in the Scouts, and I didn't call her to tell the story. Later on, when my daughter was 12 years old, I took it to the Scouts myself. I took it to my hospital. I work in the Hadassah hospital in Asaf HaRofeh. We were making a ceremony this day about the Holocaust, and I took her on the stage to talk about the story. And she said, every person has a name and a day he was born. I didn't have a name and a day I was born until a very early. I didn't know that at the very late time. I didn't know the day I born. I didn't know. I didn't know if I really what's the Hannah Blumlich, why I keep insist that it's Hannah Blumlich and not Eva Petrushka. So it was really something that we were talking about the family, but we didn't want to talk about it in the family. But later on, until the end of her life, when she died, she was 84 years old. We were talking about the Holocaust at home, and she was talking with my children about that when they asked her, and she really went all over Israel to tell the story. And that's why we're very proud of her.
Okay, wow. So thank you to really for sharing this fascinating story. You know, there are many stories and everyone has their own story. Even we have our own stories. But when you hear something like that and something that we sort of take for granted, you know, she said the word mother or Emma, that's a very, very big deal. And really, you are a leader, and there's no doubt in your position that you grew up because of the strong women and the strong people in your life, because of the Holocaust background and the amazing influence that you are making and impact that you're making on many, many others today because of that. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us, really. Obviously, we would have loved to have had you live, but second best to live was the recording. So thank you very much. Thanks again to our friend Barbara Sofa for introducing me to Really, and of course to our sponsors, Nardis Advisors, and to Egan & Cohen Insurance. And I thank you for joining us today. As I said, whether you joined live or whether you're listening to the recording, Am Yisrael Chai, may we have no more problems and stories that we have to repeat, like what Relly said or what we heard on October 7th. May we be proud to be Jews, move forward and wishing our nation strength as well as our soldiers, and of course, the safe return of our hostages. See you next week. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you for joining.